TV Africa News. Hope you had a beautiful day. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahabe Kajura. Let's have the headlines.
In the news today, Kabaka opens the 28th Buganda LUKIIKO. Judiciary has the capacity to handle all electoral petitions. Deputy Chief Justice Richard Butera assures the public ahead of elections. Facebook explains why it blocked NRM supporters.
The news in detail. The Kabaka of Buganda, JANUARY.2021, II, has opened up officially the 28th Buganda LUKIIKO today at Bulange, Mengo.
Today morning, the Kabaka of Uganda, JANUARY.2021, accompanied with Nabagereka Sylvia Najinda, opened the 28th LUKIIKO, the first to sit this year, 2021. Kabaka was welcomed by Katikkiro Mayiga, but before Kabaka started with drumming, the so-called Mujaguzo, as a tradition in Buganda. After Kabaka entered the LUKIIKO hall, the anthems were sung as a sign of loyalty and respect. In his address, Kabaka started with sending his condolences to all people who lost their dear ones during COVID-19, promising them that Buganda is with them.
Abantu baffe abafiiriddwa abantu baabwe olw'endwadde eya COVID-19, endwadde endala n'endwadde endala ezeeyongedde era n'okusaasira abo ababadde n'abantu baffe abafiiriddwa abantu baffe n'ettemu.
Katikkiro Charles Peter Mayiga also reported to him that many kingdom projects went to standstill due to COVID-19.
Omwaka oguwedde n'emirimu gya gavumenti yo nagyo gyataataaganyizibwa olw'ekirwadde kino, naye tubadde tutetenkanya ebyo ebisoboka ne tubikola.
The ministers vow to continue the kingdom and their king without failure.
Bwe tulina eri Ssaabasajja tugenda kubeera wamu ne Ssaabasajja era tugenda kwasaganyiza wamu ng'Abanyarwanda okulaba nga Obuganda tubuzaayo ku ntikko. Tujje mu butongole tukiikirire abantu mu bitundu gye tuva. Kyokka nga tumaliriza omulimu guno kitegeeza tugenda kukola. Nkubiriza ab'amasaza mwenna nti muteekwa okukola, muteekwa okukunga abantu ba Kabaka.
Tweyama ng'abalunzi okuzza Buganda ku ntikko, okusigala nga tuli bumu n'okuzimba Buganda eyawamu.
This report was compiled by Omulongo Kagwa for TV Africa.
The Deputy Chief Justice, Honorable Richard Butera, has assured Ugandans that judiciary has prepared enough to handle all the election petitions.
Only 4 days remaining for Ugandans to vote for their leaders, both president and members of parliament, on 14th January. The legal fraternity, under their umbrella Uganda Law Society, have launched a compendium of electoral petitions with the aim of informing the public and legal fraternity about the legal process.
In handling electoral matters, the procedure is that in trying to handle preponing complaints that can be raised to electoral matters, we leave some of those offences, they report them to police. We are not yet more vigilant in following them.
At the launch, the lawyers tasked observers to demonstrate why they refuse to consider irregularities of their reports. Medad Lubega Segona, the NUP lawyer, points out the violence of human rights, brutality, etc. that do cover the elections, but get surprised when such cases are not considered.
We are committing offences. There is a right against self-incrimination. Dr. Ruhweza knows, but I can tell you, gentlemen, that yes, I have seen. When you look at the law, both the Presidential and Parliamentary Elections Act, members of the public are allowed to be at the polling station. All they need to do is to be 20 meters away from the place. Comes up with regulations amending that provision of the law. We are lawyers.
However, Mrs. Charity Ahimbisiwe, the Executive Director for Citizen Coalition for Electoral Democracy Uganda CEDU, confesses that civil society has been observing carefully and objectively. Ahimbisiwe reminded them that they have been significantly pointing out it in their reports since the 1996 elections to date that the process of the election has not been fair.
You need these observers. Observers promote transparency of processes. Observers promote freeness of processes. And observers deter electoral ills. How do they deter electoral ills? If an observer is at a polling station and sees somebody bribing voters, they alert the Electoral Commission that something illegal is happening within the precincts of the polling station. But they are them to activate in the next 3 days these tribunals across the districts and the sub-counties to help handle electoral disputes right from sub-county level.
In his remarks, the Deputy Chief Justice, Honorable Richard Butera, assured the public that the judiciary has capacity to handle all the electoral petitions ahead of the general elections. Honorable Justice Butera, however, agreed that the judiciary organ is still lacking more judges to handle the petitions in time. Since 1996, Uganda has been organizing general elections, and observers make reports with candidates taking petitions to court for justice. However, none of the petitions has ever been won by the opposition side.
National Unity Platform lawyer Medad Lubega Segona has told the journalists that they have discovered the movements for the government to reach the elections. Mr. Segona pointed out some army official being given ballot papers to tick them in favor of Mr. Museveni so that he wins the election.
Oba tebikoleddwa nze ndowooza poliisi n'amagye effujjo bye bakoze bimala. Olunaku lw'okulonda batwesonyiwe. Anaabakoze akavuyo ng'akalulu kabadde kalungi y'anaavunaanibwa. Naye tosobola kuvunaana muntu anaabakoze akavuyo nga akalulu okazannyiddemu. N'olwekyo abapoliisi n'abamagye tubasaba busabe. Nga Supreme Court bwe yabagamba ebyokulonda babyesonyiwe. Obululu bwe tuwulira bwe batiikingira e Kakiri ne mu barracks endala babuzzeeyo mu Electoral Commission gye baabujja. Oba si aba Electoral Commission balina omukisa serial numbers ez'obululu obwo bwe bamanyi nti baabuwa ab'amagye okubutiikinga babuwanduukulule bagambe tetujja bubala temubuleeta mu butuddize kyangu nnyo. President Museveni bw'anaaba awangudde akalulu ak'amazima n'obwenkanya tujja kumukubira salute ffenna. Naye ate musaba ne banne ab'amagye bannansiko empisa z'omu nsiko zibaggwemu bakkirize pulezidenti anaaba alondeddwa. Tuleke kulowooza nti Uganda ekoma ku lunaku lwa kulonda. Naye balekerawo tugamba nti mugambe abantu nti bakuume emirembe ng'ate bo bakola ebikolwa ebitabangula emirembe. Basse abantu abamala, balwazizza abamala, bawambye abamala ne babatwala mu safe houses, abalala ne babakuumira mbuya mu barracks, tukimanyi. Bannansi abo babate tebalina musango.
Let's go for a short break. Do stay with us. Welcome back from the break. The National Youth Council has cautioned the youths to desist from violence during and after elections. Addressing a press conference in Kampala, the chairman of the National Youth Council, Jacob Yoru, has said youths in the country contribute 43% of the electorate. Therefore, they are mandated to participate in the elections without fear and intimidation.
We have been in the effort to ensure that youth participate in great numbers in the country in the upcoming elections, specifically the presidential elections, and they participate without intimidation, without fear, and without violence. Our endeavors have been to involve all our structures at all levels from the village to advocate for a free, a fair, and a peaceful electoral process in this election period. As you're all aware, Uganda is going to the polls on the 14th of January to elect the next president of Uganda. And the youth, people who are 30 years and below, are the majority of Ugandans. So as youth leaders, we are very interested in the process, and we are very interested in the participation of youth in that process.
He also advised the youths to stay away from violence during the election period and also desist from being used by politicians to fulfill their benefits.
I want to encourage young people to desist from engaging in acts that destabilize the country and desist from being used by political actors in acts that may destabilize the country. A non-stable country is a country no one can live in, no profession can be practiced in. We only will see bullets and violence, and that will lead to death of some innocent, some perpetrators, and some mistakes.
Unemployment is one of the challenges that youths face in the country, and now National Youth Council wants candidates to address this issue amicably and transparently.
The presidential aspirant must show how they are going to create jobs for young people. And we are not going to be happy or sad about what has happened in the past. Our tenure has started, and our tenure is forward-looking. What are you going to do for job creation? What are you going to do for education? This is a conversation we're in. In 5 years, we are going to cause havoc in this country if we don't see jobs for youth.
Ayoru has also condemned police brutality against youths during campaigns.
We have had, this is the second press conference. About 2-3 days after the violence that rocked the country following the arrest of Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, we actually held a press conference and we condemned police brutality, we called for justice, and we asked as well youth not to engage in violence. The path of justice is twofold. It is on one part a path that requests that justice systems hold those who are culpable, but it also requests that everyone observes the law. It is our duty as leaders to ensure that we call people to both ends, that the justice system comes in and the law observance also is taken into consideration.
It is just 3 days to 14th of January 2021 when Ugandans will cast their votes. Facebook has shut a slew of accounts belonging to Ugandan government officials accused of seeking to manipulate public debate ahead of elections on Thursday. The East African nation is holding presidential and parliamentary elections after a tense and bloody campaign, with President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, 76, facing a stiff challenge from a pop star turned politician, Bobi Wine. In an email, Kaiser Anim Ado said, "This month we removed a network of accounts and pages in Uganda that engaged CIB coordinated inauthentic behavior to target public debate ahead of the election." Facebook's head of communication for Sub-Saharan Africa. He also said that they used fake and duplicate accounts to manage pages, comment on other people's content, impersonate users, and reshare posts in groups to make them appear more popular than they were. Anim Ado said the network was linked to the Ministry of Information and Communications Technology, and given the impending election in Uganda, they moved quickly to investigate and take down his network. Social media giants have come under increasing scrutiny over the content they allow to spread on their networks. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook blocked US President Donald Trump over incitement to violence after his supporters stormed the US Capitol, a move his backers see as an assault on free speech. Museveni's senior press secretary, Don Wanyama, who saw both his Facebook and Instagram accounts shut down, accused the company of seeking to influence the elections. On his page, Wanyama wrote that, "Shame on the foreign forces that think they can aid and plant a puppet leadership on Uganda by disabling online accounts of the ruling party NRM supporters," he said on Twitter. Museveni's online account is still active, but many government officials and members of the ruling party have seen their pages taken down, including the well-known blogger and Museveni supporter, a prominent doctor, and a senior official in the information ministry. The president has long accused foreign organizations and elements of backbiting in a bid to remove his government. Few days to the general elections, the security organs working with the judiciary body have promised to tackle all electoral petitions at lower levels and also ensuring stability in the country. In the press conference that was held at Media Center in Kampala, the RCC Nakawa Anderson Burola told journalists that government has trained enough security personnel, both in the army and police, to make sure that there is security in all parts of the country ahead of elections.
Elections of people has been put on the polling, because the polling is a specific arrangement. Make a line that can be enforced to follow the guidelines.
RCC Burola also said they are monitoring all judges who will be corrupt during the exercise, that anyone caught will face the authorities, and people should report any cases of that kind without fear.
Ng'okunyakula, ng'okumenya bisuubirwa okugenda mu maaso, era tusaba nti abantu tebeesuulirayo gwa naggamba.
Jamison Karemani, the judiciary spokesperson, also assured the public of the big number of magistrate court judges who are ready to handle the electoral petitions.
Okuteekateeka abalamuzi baffe okulaba nti bawuliriza emisango gino mu budde, tusuubira ku luno tujja kuba nga tusobola okugikolako mu budde nga bwe twekatwese. Emirala ng'eya kulimino nga bali mu family division nga bakola ku misango emirala mu divisions ezo, tujja kuba nga tubajjayo olw'okulaba nti tufuna manpower emala okukola ku misango gino. Bonna bajja kuba nga bavaayo nga babasindika mu misango gino across the country.
According to statistics, Uganda has 10 Supreme Court judges, 14 Court for Appeal. High Court judges are only 57. This makes a total number of all judges in Uganda 83, magistrates 379, court registrars are only 261. This makes a total number of all judges in Uganda 83, magistrates 379, and court registrars are only 261. In Seychelles, the vaccination campaign against the new coronavirus has started. Health Minister Peggy Vitol made the announcement, which makes Seychelles one of the first African countries to launch such an operation. He said the vaccination campaign will start on Sunday with the country's leaders so that the population will be able to see the leaders setting an example. The president of the archipelago, Wavel Ramkawalan, was among the first people vaccinated. The vaccine used will be the Chinese vaccine developed by the public laboratory Sinopharm with its subsidiary China National Biotech Group. Seychelles received 50,000 doses donated by the United Arab Emirates. The entire population of the archipelago island nation is to be vaccinated on a voluntary basis. The latest assessment shows that 420 people have been infected since the start of the pandemic, including one death, but this figure is constantly rising with an average of more than 20 new infections per day. After the country's leaders, the vaccination campaign will be extended on Monday to all medical personnel, then to people working in essential sectors, and then to people over 65 years, all before finally reaching the rest of the population. More than 1,000 people are to be vaccinated every day. And in our sports today, the postponed Great Ethiopian Run on Sunday crowned Abe Gesho for the men and Siege Gebselama for the women.
Gashau 22 won the 10-kilometer race with 28 minutes and 19 seconds, his second victory after his 2016 win. For a large part of the race, he ran behind training partner and friend Tadesse Woku, but overtook in the final stretch. Gashau, a member of the Amhara Prisons Club, said he had prepared in a focused way for his race, choosing to stay in his hometown in Debre Birham and only coming to Addis Ababa in time for the athletes' COVID-19 pre-race testing on Friday morning. Gebselama won the women's race in 32 minutes and 32 seconds. Her victory comes after she narrowly missed out on first place 2 years ago due to misdirection in the race's final 200 meters. A total of 9,000 participants took part in the mass races. It's far fewer than the last race last year when some 30,000 competed. COVID-19 precautions were made this year and the race had been postponed for 2 months. The race was staged in 3 waves set off at 15-minute intervals. Everyone had their temperatures checked when arriving at the event. Runners also had to wear masks before and after the 10-kilometer run.
Thank you so much. Now it is high time. I wished you well. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you.
This is Africa, and that was the news.